Hi there. Welcome to Stars Will Align. Think of this like sitting around the cauldron with me. But instead of potions, we're working with timing, energy, and a little bit of cosmic insight. This is the audio companion to my Cosmic Cauldron newsletter, where I break down the week ahead through astrology, human design, and gene keys. Plus, a little tarot, psychic downloads, and whatever else decides to show up. Nothing here is random. There are patterns to all of this. So this is your weekly check-in with the collective energy. What's shifting, what's activating, and how to actually move with it. Let's see what this week has in store. So first and foremost, as I set with the collective energy, I got a few different messages about, one was like the word keepers that kept coming to me. And I saw this as having this sacred authority over something that you know, having this reverence for some type of information, some type of wisdom that you have earned or gained in your lifetime. Because a lot of the times we rush through life and we learn things and then we forget them the next second. So this was something coming through about how when you have these insights, when you have these downloads, when you have these hits of wisdom, how do you slow down and really absorb it like a sponge? How do you have more respect for it, more reverence for it, instead of just letting it pass you by? Then I also got a message about feeling into the difference in our bodies when we're feeling bogged down versus when our systems are running efficiently. And I literally got the word bogged down. And I'm wondering why that is. Maybe that's just because there's something in your life that you're needing to purge or get rid of in order to feel lighter, in order to feel like you're running more effectively or smoothly. It could also just be an overall full feeling, like feeling full of information, maybe. Have you ever had that experience where, like, when you were in school, you go through the school year and then the second that summertime comes around, you just forget everything you learned? I was like that with math, especially. So every year it felt like I was starting over completely with math, but it's because my brain was like, math is not important. We don't like math. Math is not something helping me personally along my life path, right? So it's needless information. And so my brain would just purge it or get rid of it. Maybe there's something about that this week that we need to do a detox of our brain and kind of declutter some things that we have learned or that we know about, because maybe it's just not important and it's bogging us down. And I actually like that. Thinking of our brains as almost a hard drive. Is your hard drive full? Is it at capacity? How can you delete some files and clear some cache, right? Like, get some of that out of the way so that way your brain, your thinking is more effective and more smooth. Okay, let's talk about the tarot cards. So just my interpretation before actually looking up the meaning of the cards is, it looks like with that, what would ultra intelligent imaginary me do? This is the insight, right? Then the Ace of Wands is the action. And then the Spearmint card is about clarity. So literally we are going to have insights. We need to take action on those insights. It's going to give us a lot of clarity. That is the major theme of the week. So yes, first things first, the card, what would ultra intelligent imaginary me do? The main message from this card is to heed the wise advice that you would give to others. Easier said than done, right? But this is that point of slowing down and really staying present with the things that you know, so you can actually work on embodying them instead of just talking about them to other people. Another thing I really love about this card is it reminds me of the alter ego work I do. Sometimes we know better, but we're not actually taking the actions to become that higher version that we know we're capable of. Or there's a little bit of a misalignment between the things that we know and the actions that we're taking in life. And this usually comes from this feeling of inadequacy, right? The ego mind, our minds, they don't like to do things that they're not good at. They don't like to be the fool card, right? They want to only act when they're sure. And so that's where this tactic or this trick comes in of this higher self, quote unquote, or an imaginary you or an alter ego, right? It's this kind of perception breaking trick to trick your mind into trying the thing before you feel super ready. And you do it through play and imagination. So that way It's soft and it's playful, because the second that you are hard on yourself, or you come from a place of discipline or force or push or shame, even, that really shuts your whole system down, because it's not really imaginary. If you think about it, it is you. It's just the version of you that you haven't felt safe to become yet. Okay, the next card is Ace of Wands, which is all about inspiration, creativity. It's that spark of energy, it's that initiative or that initiation. It's energy in a very raw potential form. So, again, taking action on something this week, getting into your sacral, into your creative energy, into taking action on things. And then we got the Spearmint card, which is really all about clear thinking. It's all about a clarity of the mind. Whenever you smell spearmint, right, it really is this clarifying feeling that runs through your entire body. It brings lucidity to you, right? It has you feeling very objective. And I don't usually like the word objective, because I feel like it's almost impossible to define what is objective when we all have very subjective minds. But I will say that I think, from a very subjective point of view, there are things that are objectively true to you personally, right? I think that it snaps you out of the more illusionary side of your thinking and into clarity, right? Or snaps you out of confusion. So it's not necessarily like this is the truth with a capital T for everyone, right? But it is about finding your truth. Also, something I wrote down with this too is, if you keep your thoughts light, you will actually see more clearly. And isn't that just mwah, for how thinking tends to work, right? The more that we try to force clarity, the more that we get rigid, dogmatic, black and white thinking, the more it feels like we are just banging our fucking heads against a wall, right? So, stepping away from the thing that is making you feel like you are banging your head against a wall, getting some space between you and that thing, and then coming back to it when your thoughts are feeling lighter. Also, I think that when we talk about objective versus subjective, sometimes we can get really lost in our subjective experience that can end up feeling confusing when there's a lot of emotions that are wrapped around it, right? It can feel very convoluted and complex because there's all of this history or emotional weight that is being applied to this thing. So I think that's another part of this card, is you almost have to feel your emotions fully so you can return to this state of neutrality, so that way you can return to this objective truth. Okay, so this is totally mirrored in the transits to come. All of this stuff about our thinking and our clarity and our initiation and our action and our taking our own advice. Because today, on Monday, the moon is in Pisces. We are still maybe in our deep emotions. We are still feeling things deeply. We are maybe more imaginative. Maybe we're more moody or melancholic, or even creative is definitely a part of this moon. Wading in the waters of our dreams, of our subconscious. Okay, and then Tuesday, the moon is going to move into Aries, right? So all of this action, all of this energy that has been sitting in the sign of Aries for a bit now, we're going to have a chance to really fully reflect on that and feel that. We're going to be feeling our beliefs. We're going to be feeling into our dreams. We're going to be feeling into our faith. We're going to be feeling into our delusions. We're going to be feeling into our commitments, our karmas, and into our identity wounding with Chiron there. Also on Tuesday, Mercury is going to move into gate 23, which could mean that our communication is a bit more simplified and grounded at this point. We're able to maybe take some insights and some things that we know and practically speak them. Or maybe it's just that you notice that people are inviting you to speak about your insights, and then they're able to come out in a simplistic and efficient type of way, in a practical type of way. Venus is going to move into 12, Something about Venus moving into 12 is about maybe a little bit of taking yourself away from the hustle and the bustle and getting some quality time with yourself alone, so that way you can really reconnect with yourself, recharge, and achieve this state of balance that you are seeking with yourself. Also, this is about the value of discernment and how can you refine and practice and fine tune your expression to find even more pure and graceful and resonant ways of communicating with others. Jupiter is going to move into gate 62. This is another throat chakra gate, right? So this is even more about information sharpening into clarity and your language becoming very precise, very exact. This one's a bigger transit because Jupiter doesn't switch gates as often as Mercury or Venus or Mars does, right? We could be feeling this a bit strongly. Remember that Jupiter is in Cancer, so it is about expanding our roots and our foundation and the way that we take care of ourselves, and that leads to our unlocking of prosperity and abundance and flow and magic and expansion. But on the gene key side, it can look like the shadow of it is getting trapped in the mind, over explaining, needing to categorize everything, having this anxiety through over analysis. And sometimes it can create this hyper focus on details in the way things are said that it disconnects you from the bigger picture of the heart, right? So, this particular one can be about tapping into the heart and expanding from that place rather than there being this pressure to say things correctly, or this fear of sounding unintelligent. We can tap into the heart and find that it's not about perfectionism. It's actually about refining your language until it becomes clean and elegant and useful and true. It's this ability to organize complex ideas into understandable structures, which is a lot about 23 as well. If you feel like you've been stuck in your head with something, like maybe you've really been contemplating or thinking about something, and it's like maybe it feels clear to you, but it just doesn't feel clear how to communicate it. I would say all these transits coming this week can really help with that, like really open up that throat chakra. So that way expression becomes possible. Okay. Wednesday, Mercury in Taurus is going to sextile Jupiter in Cancer. This is a beautiful teamwork type of energy between the practicality of our speaking and thinking and that expansion of roots and foundation. A beautiful teamwork energy between earth and water. And I think the reason why earth and water work so well together is because earth acts as a container for water. Our mind, our practicality, our material resources act as a container for our more watery, emotional, intuitive sides of ourselves. So this could really be about creating stability. This could be about effectively speaking up for your values to create a more nourishing life for yourself, finding effective ways to communicate your emotions, your needs. And then also on this day, the north node is going to move into gate 55 and the south node is going to move into gate 59. I would say, especially as we head towards 2027, this shift is deeply connected to the evolution of human relationships and emotional consciousness and intimacy and spirit itself. It's the shift away from survival based bonding and a shift towards this more emotionally honest and spiritually aligned connection. So the gate 59, that is about intimacy, and the shadow is dishonesty. So we're definitely going to be shedding and exposing the way that humans merge with each other in a more unconscious way. old relational contracts, people pleasing, seduction, manipulation, porous boundaries, projection, attachment patterns, transactional relationships, and performing closeness, right? All of these things are going to need to come up and be purged and be released. I would even say maybe family dynamics could definitely come up with this one as well. I feel like I can already in my personal life feel this coming on. Yeah, because it's literally like we're realizing how much of our connection has been rooted in unmet needs, loneliness, survival, validation, fear of abandonment, rather than true intimacy. And something too that I've been thinking about a lot, especially when it comes to people pleasing, is for me personally, I feel like I spent so many years in this place of people pleasing, right? In this place of saying yes when I really meant no, or doing things because I felt obligated, or catering to people, or doing things because I felt guilty if I didn't do them, right? And it's literally reminding me always over and over again of the generator sacral response of yes or no, what your body is saying yes or no to, right? And how I have been like since I've been on the other side of this whole people pleasing thing, I've been super uber sensitive to other people's maybe their sacral responses, right? Like when I ask someone, hey, do you want to go do this with me? Or hey, would you want to help me with this thing? And they're like, yeah, sure. And I can literally feel the fuck no in that, right? They're saying yes, but here's the thing about the sacral response. Personally, I feel like I can hear it in the voice. You can hear it in the yeah, like how it goes down a little bit. Yeah, sure. It's definitely a fucking no. And so I have been able to see from the other side of this just how hurtful that is, right? You think you're being nice when you're in this people pleasing thing. You think you're being nice. You think that you're being helpful and being selfless, just truly being of service to other people. But when you're on the other side of that and you feel like people are forced to be around you to hang out with you or to help you, that doesn't fucking feel good. Does that make sense? It doesn't feel good when you can feel this person's energy pulling away from it, but they're like forcing themselves towards it anyway. I don't know about you, but I want people who genuinely want to say yes to me. I don't want your help unless you truly want to fucking help. And don't get me wrong, sometimes when it comes to help, okay, if I ask you to come clean up dog poop in my yard, of course, no one's going to be like, fuck yeah, I want to help you clean up dog poop in your yard. Maybe some people would feel that way. But here's the thing about that. Yes, sometimes we do things that we don't want to do, but there's some other kind of thing that motivates us about it. Oh, I truly love this person and I want to help them. But you won't fucking ever feel that if you're depleted. If you haven't been taking care of yourself, if you haven't been filling your own cup, if you haven't been nourishing and pouring into yourself, and someone asks you to help them clean up dog poop in their yard, I don't care how much you're motivated by the love you have for that person, you're gonna be fucking resentful doing that thing if you haven't been taking good care of yourself. And no one wants to feel your resentment, your hostility, all the shit that you're not saying that people can feel radiating off of your body. It's real, it exists. I'm super sensitive to it these days. I can feel it coming off of almost everyone I know. I can feel how much everyone relates in this way, and it's just so fucking sad to me. So, the North Node in Gene Key 55, this is where we're being stretched towards. This is where we're evolving. So we're purging all that dishonesty, right? And we're moving towards this Gene Key 55, which is a freedom. It's freedom of spirit, right? It's freeing ourselves from the shadow of victimization, from emotional victimhood, or feeling like our life, our emotions, our circumstances have power over our inner state. Don't get me wrong, like, yes, things have power over you. Yes, there is definitely truth to how people can be victimized by something bigger than them. You have complete control over your inner state. So this is tied to your emotional waves, your moods, your longing, your melancholy, your search for meaning. And sometimes this can really emotionally destabilize you because you're learning that freedom is not this external control, but it's this internal aliveness. It's this internal freedom. It's no matter what the fuck is happening outside of you, you have responsibility and control over your internal world. The nodal shifts is another big one, right? We're going to be sitting in this energy for a while. So I think that this is something that we can learn a lot from and get used to over this next week. And then Mars is going to move into gate 3, which is about chaos and innovation. This is very much like a pressure cooker of sorts with Mars being here, but it's because the old way isn't working anymore and the new way hasn't fully formed yet. So you really have to sit with that feeling of chaos for that innovation to come through, right? Like when you stop resisting the messiness of the transition itself, when you stop trying to force premature answers or force the energy toward the end result or the reward of the experimentation, that's when you get stuck in that stagnant chaos, right? So it's when we release and we submit that we are finally able to find our adaptability, our creativity, and our responsiveness. And then our new ideas can suddenly emerge, right? And it seems like it's out of nowhere. So this is very much, again, like bright idea of an energy that we're going to be experiencing this week. On Thursday, the moon is going to move into Taurus, which officially puts us in our dark moon phase. So, whenever we talk about a dark moon phase, it's the phase right before the new moon. So, this is the last moment where we can really purge any last things. This is definitely a good time to be going through some things and maybe burning some things and releasing some things and getting some things out of the way before the clean slate of the new moon that's coming on Saturday. The moon in Taurus is going to have us feeling more slow, more stable, more sensual, more grounded, more present in the moment. And then also on Thursday, we have a Mercury cazimi. So, what a cazimi means is that whenever a planet touches the sun, like conjuncts the sun, that is what we call a cazimi. And the reason why this is important or vital is because whenever a planet is hovering around the sun, like a few degrees, the sun tends to outshine that planet, and that planet can't as effectively show up in our lives. But then when the planet moves on top of the sun, it's almost like the sun is handing a microphone over to this planet and being like, what do you want to say? What's up? So, especially with Mercury being in the cazimi, this is very much an expressive time. And this is going to happen in Gene Key 23, line 6. So again, I really feel like this is the complexity of maybe some of the craziest insights that you've had in your life, being able to finally express them in a way that is very practical and absorbable from others, being able to really shift things using the power of your voice and also finding the essence maybe of some things, because language is this ginormous thing and it can be used for good and it can be used for bad, but it's like, what is the essence of the energy of the thing that you're trying to communicate? How can you dwindle it down to that could really help open this throat chakra energy up for you? And then after the cazimi, Mercury is going to move into gate 8. So this is going to really tap you into your own personal style of communication. Maybe also making sure that you don't dilute your own unique perspective and ideas in order to fit in with the crowd. When you do, that actually leads to lack of individual recognition and credit. When you fear standing out, that actually dulls your creative expression. Your authentic style unlocks the unique contribution that you are here to give to the world, and that eventually it reveals your uniqueness and your essence. And then on Friday, the sun and the earth are going to move into gates 8 and 14, adding to this Mercury vibe, and also where the new moon will take place on Saturday. So we're definitely going to be feeling into this uniqueness in style. And then we're also going to be stretching towards what is unique about us and how that uniqueness and our own talents turns into our purpose, and how when we really live that purpose, prosperity flows naturally and abundantly, right? This is going to be very clear to you this week if you're doing any kind of misaligned work, because that's going to feel like it's draining your life force. Again, that bogged down feeling that we mentioned at the beginning. On Saturday, we have the new moon at 3:01 p.m. in gate 8, line 2. Again, this is very much about naturalness. What are you naturally good at? What is unique about you? And this new moon is conjunct Mercury, so your expression. And Mars at the same time is conjunct Chiron, that identity wounding place in our life, right? So this feels like a very identity altering new moon, if I'm being honest. Because there is this combination here of vulnerability, disruption, honesty, and emergence. Definitely something about how the old psyche can no longer keep pretending. Like that stability cannot truly come from fakeness. Because again, gate 8 is about bringing your unique frequency to the collective instead of conforming. Stop watering yourself down, hiding your uniqueness, performing acceptability, shaping yourself around external validation. And especially because it's in line 2, that gives such a natural quality to it. It's definitely not about trying or forcing yourself to be unique. It's not about, oh my God, I need to stand out. I need to be unique, right? It's like there's something naturally unique about you. And it's just like allowing that to reveal itself without any force. And then the whole thing with Mercury there is going to be very mental and communicative and self reflective. Maybe things around thoughts, conversations, realizations, journaling, social media, speaking, content creation, identity narratives, all of that is part of this initiation. When you do put yourself out there, how much have you been editing yourself? There's this power for truth telling here, but there's also a lot of sensitivity around being misunderstood or exposed. But then at the same time, while Mars is conjunct Chiron, definitely this, first of all, pain around being the beginner when we're looking at Gene Key 3, pain around being the fool or not knowing enough or things are tricky or hard to get going, but also this collective identity healing. Right? Because if Chiron, the wounded healer, has been in the sign of selfishness and identity and initiation, this is really like, all right, are you going to take action? You've been doing so much healing. Are you going to take action? So it's definitely like, I know I cannot keep being this old version of myself, but also becoming the new version feels a bit messy and vulnerable and chaotic and uncertain. But here's the thing, you do not find your voice before expressing yourself. You find your voice through expressing yourself. So this is really about courageously moving through these things while being imperfect. Showing up and participating while being messy. Okay, and then on Sunday, Mercury is going to move into Gemini. Then we're going to have Mercury in his home sign. And as soon as he moves into his home sign, he is going to move right on top of Uranus. I really think that this whole week could culminate into some genius thoughts, right? Also, it's going to be in gate 20. So this is really reflective of, again, what I said at the beginning of this, of needing to be very slowed down and very present. Maybe, again, I'm going to just keep stressing this. If you don't meditate, this would be a great time to meditate, to practice slowing the mind down, to practice ridding your mind of needless thoughts and distractions, to get really present, to really be observing your thinking, because all of that is going to lead to even more insights and even more downloads and even more ideas. And then finally, Venus is going to move into gate 15. She's right at the end of her transit in Gemini, about to move into Cancer. And gate 15 is really about adapting to your own rhythm and changing circumstances. It's about respecting your personal cycle, like when you want to get up, when you eat, when you go to bed. Of course, this is leading us into Cancer, right? Because that's what Cancer is all about. It's about being in the rhythm and the flow. That's why I always say about following the moon. That is Cancer, right? And when you are in your own rhythm and you accept the extremes of your life, then you become very magnetic. It's magnetism. You can feel the draw and the pull towards things, and people can feel the draw and the pull towards you. And there's so much value in this. So, this is just so cool. I love this week. I love how this all flowed, and I hope that you loved it too. Again, as always, I will say that every transit is going to impact everyone differently. So, if you are wanting help sifting through some of the things coming up for you this week, please reach out. Let's book a cosmic clarity session and talk about it in more detail. I hope you all have a great week ahead.